Hi, good afternoon. Ray Bratcher here with another YouTube video discussing the situation we all find ourselves now with the coronavirus world pandemic. Today's March 31st, 2020. And I want to begin by asking, how are you? And I don't ask that in a, cursory, formally polite kind of way. I ask it because I really want to know. I want to know how you're doing. And if you could comment below and just give me a shout out, let everyone know, let me know how you're doing. But that's also a paradoxical question. How are you doing? Because with a few exceptions among some of my listeners, most of you don't know how you're doing. And no matter what you say, you're going to be wrong, which is paradoxical, isn't it? If you say, I'm doing fine, everything's great, I'll be through this. This will be over in a week or two, and then everything will be back to normal. Well, you're wrong. You have not yet appreciated the situation that you are in, and you are, in fact, still in denial. If you are trying to continue on as if life is normal, you are in denial. This is not going to last a week or two. On the other hand, if you say, "Oh, everything is awful. I'm they sent me home. I'm stuck at home. I don't have any income coming in. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills, and the whole world is crashing down. And um, this virus is going to make us all sick, and I may even die." Well, if you're full of fear like that, you are also wrong, because what's going on in the long run is going to be a good thing. So, to answer the question of how are we all doing, we have to answer the question of what's going on. And so I have good news and bad news. So the bad news first, let's get that out of the way. This is not going to be over in a week or two. And perhaps um, of even greater ramifications for all of us than the medical situation and the pandemic, which will eventually get under control, be brought under control. But in addition to that are the financial ramifications. Those are going to last for years. In fact, you should be thinking of this as something akin to a global world war. And you should be thinking of what you should be doing in terms of what your grandmother did during World War II when she was on the home front. And, planting a victory garden, washing and reusing your aluminum foil, that kind of thing. Because when you go to the store, the shelves are going to be empty. You see, for the last 50 years or so, the global economy has been under the domination of a self cannibalizing economic system, like a snake eating its own tail. And it has been eating you alive, eating all of us alive. And such a system is inherently unstable, fragile, weak, and vulnerable. We got the first evidence of that with the 2008 economic crash. A couple of not even particularly large mortgage firms in the American Southwest went under, and it dragged the entire global economy down. The next thing you know, the Federal Reserve is having emergency meetings. Countries in Northern Europe are arresting bankers. And if you remember, that meltdown was caused by relatively minor corporate failures. at the beginning. There was a time when the economy was stronger than that, more stable than that. Companies and banks used to go under all the time, and it did not result in a global economic meltdown. As the economy has become more unbalanced, it has become more unstable. So it takes less and less to bring it down. The Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 occurred at the same time as World War I, and yet somehow the global economy was able to survive that because it was not so unstable, fragile, vulnerable, and weak then as it is now. Now look at us. The coronavirus, yes, it's a particularly nasty and lethal and contagious flu, but there was a time when even the coronavirus would not have taken the economy down. So again, my point is that the economy, as it has evolved over the last 50 years or so, has not been getting healthier. It has been getting sicker and weaker. And it is self-cannibalizing. It cannibalizes its retired people, its workers, its labor force, and the environment, which is its natural resources. So it is untenable. It is unsustainable. It cannot continue as it has been going. And on an unconscious level, we all recognize that. That's why, on an unconscious level, at the level of the subconscious collective, the human race have agreed with one another to engineer a global economic reset in conspiracy, if you like, with Mother Earth, Gaia, Mother Nature, the planet. So that's the good news. On the other side of this, of the initial viral infection and dealing with that on the medical level, and then the subsequent financial devastation and dealing with that on a personal and community level, on the other side of all of that is going to be a beautiful planet and a beautiful economic system that benefits and prospers all human beings, not just a select few, all of us. But you have to get through what's going on now to the other side. So first, stay healthy. Stay at home as much as you can. Don't risk exposure. Wash your hands frequently. Eat healthy. Cut out the processed junk foods. Eat lots of fruits. Fruits get their energies directly from the sun. You know the drill, right? You know the drill. Stay healthy. That's the first thing. You're not going to see the other side of this if you wind up getting sick and possibly dying. But also, don't give in to the fear and negativity and maintain a positive attitude. Remember, 99% of the people who actually get this will live. You'll be miserable for a few days, but you will live. So don't let fear program your mind into thinking this is some kind of a death sentence. But watch out for the elders. Keep your old folks well. And people with compromised immune systems. Use common sense, but also maintain a positive attitude. Keep your stress levels down. Don't give in to fear. That will keep your immune system functioning better. So if you do get sick, you'll be able to handle it better, and that's what you want. So that's the medical side of things. Now we've got the financial side of things. This isn't going to be over in a week or two. There's going to be a lot of economic shutdowns. But you need to use this, think of this as an opportunity, not a threat, because this is not a threat. Because one of the reasons that this snake eating its own tail, this self cannibalizing economic system, has been able to um, survive for 50 years, one of the reasons that it came into being in the first place is because we all kind of went along with it. We all acquiesced. We all said, okay. We all compromised. And the reason we did is because we didn't really have time to think about what we were doing. You know, one of the uh, truisms of the field that I come from, the personal growth field, one of the cliches is most people are too busy making a living to make a life. And the idea behind that, of course, is that you're usually just engaged in the frantic pursuit of the almighty dollar, trying to just survive, coming home exhausted from maybe your second or third job, that you don't really have time to think about, is this the life I want? Is this making you happy? Is this giving you anything? At the end of this, at the end of 30 years of being exhausted every day, are you going to have anything to show for it except massive, crushing credit card debt and a bunch of bills you can't afford to pay anymore? You are being cannibalized by the system. You're being eaten alive. You are stuck in the rat race. You're stuck on the hamster wheel, running in place, getting nowhere. And you're so busy doing that, you've never had a chance to really like take a breath, step back, just kind of step back. You know, you're so involved in the day-to-day affairs of your day-to-day life, and everybody else is doing it, so it looks like the thing you're supposed to be doing. So just go along with everybody else, go with the flow, do what you're expected to do. And that is the way that this self-cannibalizing economic system has been keeping you a slave, keeping you in bondage, keeping you a prisoner. You are working for, well, let's put it this way, 99.9% of the work that you do during a lifetime working career, 99.9% of the benefit of that work just goes to somebody else. Goes to the people at the very top of the food chain. And, you know, even your boss, 99.9% of your boss's work goes to somebody else and your boss's boss. And even if you're a self-employed business owner and you think of your customers as your boss, 99% of their energy and effort and work goes to the top of the food chain. It's a self-cannibalizing economic system, and it's eating us all up alive. And you have been so busy, so frantically busy, just trying to keep your head above water, pay that mortgage debt or that credit card bill or that car note every month. That's all you're thinking about. You don't have time to think about what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of happiness? How do I get off of this hamster wheel? How do I escape the rat race? And so what we have all agreed to do on a global collective level is to reset things and to create a situation where we have time to pause and reflect. You're at home now. They're telling you stay home. There's no job for you to go to now. You have all the time in the world to pause and reflect, to think about what is the meaning of life. What is the purpose of my life? What would make me happy? How can I thrive instead of just survive? How do I create an economic situation for myself where I won't be nervous and anxious and stressed out and full of fear and dread all the time? That's what's coming. But humanity is at a crossroads. We can go one of two ways. We can choose the path of love, or we can choose the path of fear. And in order to choose the path of love, you need to find that still, quiet place within. So you need to use this time of enforced quiet to go within. Meditate, breathe, pray, reflect, go within. Find that deeper place within you that's below the superficial chattering mind. It's always going full tilt, and giving you the commercials from television. Do this, do that, buy this, join this, impress this person. That's all garbage. The diamond, the purity of your essence is deep within you. That's the place you need to find, because that is the source of love. And that beacon of love is what you need to guide you through successfully to the other side. Because like I said, we are at a crossroads. And the other choice is fear. And if we give in to fear, if you become fearful that, the other, that usually fear is focused on other people. The other, the immigrants, the people of a different skin color, the people of a different ethnicity, religion, who knows what it'll be. The non-Christians, who knows? It'll be these other people are infecting us with the virus, the Chinese. These other people, they're all, we're already seeing talk like that. And then you become fearful that these other people are carriers, and you have to protect yourself from them. And that path of fear, which will be totally disconnected from your inner true self, that it'll be just complete propaganda that will be at the surface level of the chattering mind, constantly running in your head, provoking you to desperate actions and fear-based activity. And that can lead to a more authoritarian state, a fascist state, a more control. Because this self-cannibalizing economic system, which is inherently weak, fragile, and unstable, will seek to protect itself. And the only way that it can protect itself, when people refuse to sit still for the second time in a decade of losing their homes, being left holding the bag while the ones at the top of the food chain getting all the benefit, responsible for in a criminally negligent way, responsible for the economic instability, will skate off scot-free, even richer than they were before. People are not going to stand for that. So the only way to continue is to force you to stand for that by cracking down on you, by taking control, by removing your ability to revolt, which means in instituting and enforcing a series of increasingly draconian and authoritarian measures. So that's the other path we could find ourselves on. So That's really the message that I have for you today. This is going to last longer than most people think. It is not going to be over in a week or two and then everything's going back to normal. This is going to last years. And I think if you know that going in, you'll be able to be better mentally prepared for it. Second, on the other side of this can be a collective decision to engineer and create for ourselves a much better planet and modes of living and lifestyles if we choose the path of love. And the best way to get in touch with that path of love is to find that beacon of love within you by going inside through reflective practices, prayer, meditation, breath work. And so that's what you want to use this time right now for. It will make you stronger and it will make it easier for the um, humanity to get to the other side. But also remember to be gentle with yourself. Don't be in a state of denial, trying to tell yourself that everything is fine and it'll all be normal in a couple of weeks. It's never going to be back to normal. Things will never be the way they were. We're either going to be in some sort of dystopian, authoritarian, fascist state worldwide, or we're going to be in almost a new utopia. It's one or the other. We've agreed to this on a collective level. But in the meantime, don't beat yourself up. It's okay if you feel exhausted and you don't feel like doing anything. It's okay if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning filled with anxiety. There's a part of you that knows how serious and momentous what is going on right now is. It's okay if you give yourself a little bit of time to settle in and adjust to your new life. You know, especially here on St. Croix, a lot of us have not even yet fully recovered from the post traumatic stress of Maria, and now we're being hit with this. So there are coping mechanisms that are going to have you sleeping late, waking up in the middle of the night, nervous and emotional, and you don't even know why. Don't criticize yourself for that. That is just normal human behavior. And if you try to force it to go away because you think it's wrong, you're just going to make it worse. Allow yourself to feel what you feel. Allow yourself to feel what you feel and don't judge it. Don't make it wrong. Do what you got to do to process because you will be able to process all of this if you give yourself the space and the time and permission by not making it wrong. Give yourself the space and the time and the luxury of taking advantage of the situation you find yourself in now, quarantined at home with all the time in the world to find out who you are. And when you do that, when you go within, you're going to find strength and resilience and love. And part of this new world that we're going to be enjoying on the other side of this is a world that quite the opposite of the self-cannibalizing economic system we've been under the domination of for the last 50 years, which pits us all against one another, individual against individual, which is part of the reason why it is a self-cannibalizing system. Someone has to be sacrificed. And then that person in turn gets sacrificed. And then that one gets sacrificed. And eventually everyone is eaten up. But you don't notice it because it's happening gradually. Well, that's not going to be the case anymore. That's not going to work anymore. What's going to work is community. What's going to work is loving one another and doing unto our neighbor as we would have him do unto us. Because we are us. In truth, beneath the surface level of form where we appear to be individual bodies, we are one consciousness. We are one. And so behaving as if we were individuals and treating other people badly, cannibalizing them, sacrificing them for our economic benefit, that is acting out of accord with reality. So it's delusional behavior. And eventually, delusional behavior brings about collapse. The reality is we are one. And so we should treat each other as though we are one. You should treat your brother and your sister and your neighbor as you would treat yourself, because they are yourself. And we have collectively agreed as the human race to begin to act in accord with that reality. Because continuing to persist in delusion is going to mean the extinction of all life on this planet. And apparently, collectively, we have enough of a desire to live that we've agreed to put an end to this delusional system. So, like I say, things are going to get better, but they're a lot worse and will last longer than most people think, but they will get better. Give yourself time. Forewarned is forearmed. Now you can begin to just get yourself mentally ready for what's to come. Don't live in denial anymore, but don't give in to fear. Don't give in to desperation. This is a marathon, not a sprint. If you try to deal with everything now, you're going to be exhausted before you've got the first 5 miles under your belt, and you got 21 more to go. So please make a comment in the comments below. Let me know how you're doing. If you feel comfortable with it, share your perspective on what's going on and how you're feeling, how you're dealing with things. Let's get some two-way communication going. Um, I want these videos to be helpful, and I hope you got some benefit out of this. I hope that over the coming days, weeks, and months, you will find that these videos were inspiring and were kind of helpful in terms of giving you a kind of a compass direction, so that you were not just left adrift, cast upon stormy seas with no idea which way was land. And feel free to um, comment and let me know if I'm being helpful and what else can I do to be more helpful. And just know that you are not alone. You are loved, and how you are doing matters to a lot of people.